Hi, welcome to the July edition of The Parish Line, a production of CGov, the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel, about the events, programs, and policies of the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury. On this month's program, we'll hear about the return of West Nile virus to the region and find out the best ways to combat the disease. We'll look at a film being produced in the area, including scenes shot at parish buildings, and see a volunteer effort to help restore a Southwest Louisiana beach. First, June was Homeownership Month, and our housing department recognized one of their programs. Here's Margaret Higgins with the details.
An appreciation reception was recently held for National Homeownership Month. Human Services Director Tarek Polite tells us more.
What we're doing today is that we're recognizing those banks who have contributed to our housing counseling program. Their contributions are incredibly critical at this particular point, considering the cuts that we've had in our program due to federal budget cuts. And so many of our local collaborative banking partners have stepped up to the plate.
Local banks have contributed $9,000 to this program. Polite explains how this money will help the community.
One of the ways that it's going to impact the community is that it's going to allow us to be able to continue to provide these crucial housing counseling workshops that we do on a quarterly basis. So we're going to use the funds to continue to provide those workshops, and the participants will see no impact or no difference in services.
Several of the local banks were on hand to present the check and express how they feel about the homeownership program.
I think it's a wonderful class. I think it's a wonderful course. It's a great opportunity for not only people of Calcasieu Parish, but even the surrounding parishes to come and get financial literacy information on home buyer, budgeting, everything that we just need to know in everyday life. And so it's just a great overall course, and I highly recommend it.
At Iberia Bank, we are looking for any kind of opportunities to help back with the community. And reached out with and met with Ms. Deborah Tate and started doing the FDIC Smart Money training.
A new homeowner was also recognized during the reception.
One of the other things that we're celebrating this afternoon as part of National Homeownership Month is that we've had another one of our program participants to move into homeownership. And so she's recently been approved for a loan, and her new home is now being constructed in the highway area. And so she is here this afternoon, and we're recognizing her for her accomplishment on becoming a new homeowner.
Homeowner Nicole Thibodeau shares how she was able to make her dream come true.
My caseworker, she inquired me about it, and I started going to the classes, getting my credit right, and I went from there.
Thibodeau has a suggestion to people who would like to become a homeowner.
I just inquire them to get on the ball, ask questions. If you don't ask questions, you're not going to know.
For the Parish Line, I'm Margaret Higgins.
The Housing Department, along with their partners and other governmental entities, are continuing to work to advance and provide affordable housing opportunities to the residents of Calcasieu Parish. As we head to the late summer each year, the threat of West Nile virus emerges. Many areas of the state have reported positive test results for the mosquito-borne illness, but according to Calcasieu Mosquito Control Director Scott Willis, so far we've escaped what has become an active year.
It's hard to predict. Each year is different, with West Nile virus. As an example, last year was the lowest amount of virus that we've picked up throughout the whole state, in quite a few years. And so this year, all of a sudden, it's jumped right out at us, and I think there's like 19 different parishes that have had positive mosquito pools. We haven't had a positive mosquito pool this year, and so some people ask, well, how did that happen, or what is it that created so much virus activity this year? Now, one of the things that we speculate is that mosquito populations in the springtime were high or above average throughout the state, and West Nile virus is picked up from the reservoirs in birds, and so mosquitoes bite a bird, they pick up the virus, and then then they can that's how transmit the virus to another bird. And so in the springtime we had an extra amount of mosquitoes were high, and then that's the same time that birds are nesting and new birds are being born, and so you have an influx of new birds that have never been infected with the virus. And so some times you get what things happen in nature that cause amplification. So you've got high mosquito populations at a time when you have the birds, and then you also have the other variable of that you had to have, birds that were infected with the virus for the mosquito to pick it up. And so it's kind of a, it's just a combination of different things. And if you look at each year's a little, it can fool you. It can be a little bit different. It's just the combination of things this year in Mother Nature produced a lot of virus activity.
Positive tests and even some human cases have been occurring in many parts of Texas and in northern and southeastern parts of Louisiana. The testing and spraying programs, especially designed to combat West Nile virus, will last through October.
We have some traps that we set up specifically to catch the southern house mosquito or Culex mosquitoes, and we have those traps in different places throughout the parish, and we collect from those traps once a week. And we also submit some mosquito pools from light traps that we probably have. Overall, we probably have about 50 different locations that we get mosquito pools in, which means that we actually collect the female mosquitoes, bring those into the lab, and we'll put those in a vial, and they're sent to the LSU Vet School Diagnostic Lab, and they'll test those. We send them in once a week, and they test them for West Nile, Eastern equine, and St. Louis encephalitis, and they test for everything, and they send those results back to us at the end of the week.
To best combat the potential threat, keep your own space as mosquito-free as possible.
It's good for homeowners to look at if you have containers or anything around your home that are holding water for a long period of time. If it's going to hold water for 7 to 10 days, empty the containers and turn them over, or it could be anything, or flush out a bird bath. If you have like flower pots that typically have a big bowl underneath them and it's full of water all the time for your plants, pick your plant up, dump that out periodically. Because sometimes we'll find mosquitoes, they're breeding in the big the water holding container underneath plants, and so it's just being aware of things that are around your home that will hold water and emptying those out, because it takes about 7 to 10 days for mosquitoes to go through the life cycle. So if you do that once every now and then, empty those out, it'll keep mosquitoes from breeding, around the home.
Mosquito repellents containing DEET are the best options when you have no choice but to enter mosquito-prone areas. Visit the parish website for all the mosquito control information, including West Nile and other mosquito-borne disease facts and suggestions. A large group of volunteers gathered in Cameron Parish last month for a beach restoration project. Molly Morgan has the story.
Louisiana's coastline continues to erode at an alarming rate. A recent beach restoration project took place down in Cameron Parish. Lori Cormier, Coastal Zone Manager with the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury, explains.
It's a continual state effort to fight coastal restoration. So there are many nonprofits all over the state that are involved in it, and so they just pull together the funding they need in order to do the projects that they believe are going to really help save marsh and prevent flooding in the future. The State Master Plan 2012 that was just recently enacted by the governor is going to pump $50 billion into the state of Louisiana for the next 50 years. So this is the place to be if you're an engineer or any kind of coastal management agency, because there's going to be a lot of work going on in the state. Particularly, Calcasieu Parish is going to receive up to $10 billion for coastal restoration, because the reason we're so important, not only to Calcasieu Parish, we're also important to the world and the United States. If one of our 3 major ports goes down in Louisiana, a third of the world's population could potentially starve to death, because we import and export so much rice product all over the world. We're also 90% of the nation's outer continental oil and gas comes from Calcasieu Parish in Louisiana. 20% of the nation's annual waterborne commerce, 26% of the U.S. commercial fisheries, and we have winter habitat for 5 million migratory birds. So nowhere else in the nation is there a region that simultaneously offers global importance in habitat and as well as economic assets. And we have one of the one of the United States strategic petroleum oil reserves, which is a huge asset to the United States.
Volunteers worked hard to install 9,000 feet of sand fencing along the western part of Cameron Parish's coastline.
The purpose of sand fence is to help collect sand as it's deposited here on the beach in the hopes of building up some sand dunes. The sand fence behind me, beyond those fences is some really, really healthy, wonderful looking dunes, and we're trying to kind of protect what's there and expand the dunes further southward towards the coast. The goal there being, this is our first line of defense, we say, against storm surge and hurricanes, which Lake Charles and Calcasieu and Cameron Parish know the effects of all of that. So our goal here is, the more protection you can do here on the front end, the less damage that maybe potentially people would suffer further inland. It'll also help keep the salt water from the Gulf of Mexico in the Gulf and not into the more fresher marshes, north of here. You'll see sand start piling up around these fence almost immediately. To really see a full overtopping of the fence itself, that's a matter of years. But we've got fencing out in the southeastern part of the state that we put in October of 2011. That you've already got about a quarter of it kind of covered in sand near the base, so it can build up rather quickly if there isn't a storm that comes and scours it all away. The other thing the coalition is going to do with some other partners is we're going to look to come back in either the fall or spring, and we're going to add plants around the base of these dunes, or on the base of the fence, on the front side and the back side. And what that does is these plants work the same way. They catch sand and help grow a dune. But if we can plant on either side of the fence, it'll expand the width of that dune and expand kind of the sand catching capabilities of the area. So we're not, once the fence is in, we're not done by a long shot. We'll be back here a couple more times in the next year or so.
Coastal restoration affects not just Louisiana.
This crisis is not only just a Louisiana crisis, it's a United States crisis, and it's a world crisis. So we're going to do everything in Calcasieu Parish to try to prevent that from happening.
For the Parish Line, I'm Molly Morgan.
The website crcl.org is an easy way to find out more information about ongoing and upcoming beach restoration efforts. You are watching The Parish Line, a production of CGov, the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel. The city of DeQuincy is celebrating a new arrival. J.P. Booth tells us about the latest addition to their volunteer fire department.
It's out with the old and in with the new at the city of DeQuincy's volunteer fire department. The city recently celebrated the arrival of a new fire truck, which was paid for by Community Development Block grant money. At the ceremony, District 11 Juror Sandy Trimmy took the time to thank all those involved.
It does take a team effort. It's the city council that knew what their desires were, and our fire department that brought it to everybody's attention. It's Mayor Lawrence Hennigan that is always back and forth. I don't know how he does it, but he's from here to Baton Rouge all the time. Anytime he can get funds for our community, he's out there. Mary Jo has stepped in and done yeoman's work, hard work. This is not an 8-to-5 job. This is hours of boots on the ground to be able to make things happen, especially in a small community when your funding is limited. You have to figure out a way. And what I've always said was, where there's a will, there's a way.
The fire engine was paid for by Community Development Block grant money, which was awarded to the parish for economic development following Hurricanes Rita, Ike, and Gustav.
Bad things happen sometimes, like the terrible Rita, and like the terrible Ike and Gustav, and those communities like Galveston and Johnson Bayou and other places that were really, really hurt by those terrible storms. We pray they don't ever come again, but we know we always have to be prepared. And this is one of the ways to be able to be prepared, is because of the funding that does come from some of those terrible disasters, to be able to use them in a very positive way that affects many, many lives. And this truck affects our community in a very positive way and affects many, many lives.
The police juror was granted, I think 14 something million, and through that grant we applied for it and were able to get it. The convenience of the grant, it doesn't put any more burden on the taxpayers' money. We already have a tax that we're splitting between the police department to fund for equipment, but it only pays for a certain amount. In order for us to get a whole nother truck, or new truck, we would have had to have added another millage or put out for a special tax for that. With us doing this direction, we don't have to put any more burden on the police, on the public. We have 3 engines, 1 reserve, and one of them is a reserve engine, and 1 ladder truck and 1 service truck. But our reserve engine was a 1961 Mack, which is actually back over here. Right now, we've got a 1994 model GMC, which will be our reserve truck, and this will take its place and it'll go into service.
For the Parish Line, I'm J.P. Booth.
Copeland says the retiring fire truck might be turned into a children's playground or may be used as a museum exhibit. Calcasieu Parish will hit the big screen. Jessica Williamson goes behind the scenes of a movie shot in Lake Charles.
Scene 20, take 1.
Los Angeles, California has taken over Lake Charles, bringing crew members but hiring local actors. LA to LA Productions just wrapped its 2nd movie, their first filmed in Lake Charles, called How to Love a Geek.
It's a romantic comedy about 2 ladies. One is more sophisticated and more attractive than the other one. The other one feels lacking in some way, and they kind of balance each other out. The course of their friendship, through the picture, they start to become each other a little bit, and so they learn, that it's not really about your outward package as much as it is who you are really. They become best friends, and it's a little bit like, it's an office comedy. There's some comedy in it. There's romance in it. There's a little bit of intrigue and suspense in it.
The crew set up shop in multiple downtown locations. A vacant floor of the parish-owned 901 Lakeshore building was used for its office setting.
Well, we have a scene with John Daly. He's running for Congress. We also shot in the church. We had a big scene we had the full choir, filled the whole room up. And before I actually got to Lake Charles, we were able to download the 360 view of the inside of the church. So the boards that I did before I got here match the location, and then we could get all the angles, the dolly shots of the pastor walking across the stage, the reverse shot of the congregation, and old ladies gossiping in the middle of a bunch of people, things like that.
While movie director Michael McGowan is a Lake Charles native, that wasn't the only factor in choosing Lake Charles as a setting for the movie.
Well, I think it's the locations that Lake Charles provides every background that we need in a close proximity. So that's really what it is. It's kind of like it's a beautiful town. It's very clean, obviously. We don't have to... We've built these sets just with materials that are around, so we didn't have to bring settings.
The crew is back in Los Angeles as post-production begins. This may not be the last movie filmed in Lake Charles by this production company.
Everybody has been super nice here, and really, thank you for having us. I really appreciate it. I absolutely would come back here very soon.
For the Parish Line, I'm Jessica Williamson.
"90% of the film's cast members are from here in Southwest Louisiana. That's our Parish Line program for the month of July. Thanks for watching. For more information on any of these stories or to see the program online, visit the website cppj.net.